Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here today with all of you when we are speaking about and commemorating the fall of the Berlin Wall, which actually commemorates and brings the new perspectives to the countries where I'm coming from. Because in the same year, in 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell down, in Balkans, they were building walls. They were preparing for wars. Therefore, it is a part of the life for all of us to learn history, and it's good for the children and youngsters when they learn history and when they teach history to the others. But it's a very difficult time when you are part to live history, to live with the challenges and to be part of the nation building. So I'm blessed to be one of my friends in the region, and especially from my country, to be part of the nation building process and to create a country, a state, which will be able to disseminate peace and stability in the region and not consume it anymore. Maybe not accidentally, today Prime Minister of Albania is in Belgrade. It's almost 70 years after the visits of ex-Prime Minister Enver Hoxha in Serbia, and again is about breaking the walls in economic sense. Most probably you have heard about the drones, the famous drone which broke up the soccer game in Belgrade between Albania and Serbia, and this was at risk to be realized, the visit. But I think the Prime Minister of Albania and Prime Minister of Serbia, they found the power to go beyond this and look in the perspective. We are speaking today about the economy and about the stability, about the region, and how we are able to look into our perspective. And I would like just to tell you two stories, my own stories, about the free movement in the region and the free movement as well of this part of the region in Europe. My father, who is now 70 years old, he could travel freely all around the world. His son, when I started my studies in Croatia, I started studies in ex-Yugoslavia, ended up as a student in independent Croatia, not being able to travel 18 months to my home country because of the walls which were created after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Decided to go back in 1996 and start to work at university in the parallel system. So basically, my first experience working as a university teacher was in basements, in the private houses, seeking freedom, seeking possibilities and economic opportunities. And today, we are speaking about the freedom of goods, movement of goods and services, the CEFTA agreement, which has been signed among the regions to create a perspective. So we are speaking about regional integration. Regional integration, which for the Balkans sometimes means regional integration with a political background, where politics were ahead of economics, where all which are part of that integration were primarily pushed by the politics, like ex-Yugoslavia, a composition of different republics, and as well, in the previous time, Russia with its own countries. And now we are switching the mean of the integration. And the mean of the integration is to go with integration with economic background, where interest of economy is first and then should be followed by politics, where the identity of the countries is respected, but they have the interest. And I was one of those who negotiated free trade agreement in Southeastern Europe, so-called CEFTA. We were punished by the people, by our people politically in the short run, because they were telling us you are creating new Yugoslavia. But the difference is big, because we are creating economic zone, where our economies should be more competitive, where our market will be more appealing to the markets of the world. In this sense, we are living hard times in economy. You see that Eurozone this year is not doing as we expected. While UK and US economy is doing well, basically the expectations for Eurozone, and especially our countries, are not doing at the level that we expected. Huge reforms are happening, structural reforms, real economic reforms, and financial reforms, reforms which are not giving the outcome as we expected, and not they are that fast as we are expecting. So the cloudy future, which is stated in IMF World Economic Outlook, there's a cloudy future for economy, and we have to think more economically, at least in our region, and less politically. Our region has produced a lot of history, and now it's turn to produce economy, and to use the methodology and so-called proximity school in economy, which means that cooperation among ourselves should be something that we are looking forward. Now, if I focus a little bit in our case in Republic of Kosovo, I would say that we are thinking about 2003 IMF strategy and review of the strategy and relations with IMF, because IMF was focusing all countries of the world, all members of IMF, toward fiscal discipline, with no ifs and buts. It has to be fiscal discipline in the country. But in 2003, it was studied on that this was not really the best possible strategy to go forward, because the countries, especially the developing countries, they have to be in between. They have to balance between growth opportunities, economic opportunities, and fiscal stability. And that's something that we are trying to exercise in my young country, keeping fiscal stability and macro-fiscal stability, but again to give opportunities to the economic growth. Because I'm having several meetings during the year with IMF officials, and I'm telling, if we speak only about the fiscal stability, means that you are telling to the people, maybe the average salary in my country is 300 euros, live with these 300 euros, do not look for more opportunities, and if you spend only those 300 euros, you are stable. So we want to go a little bit out of this picture, and I'm inspired a bit from the Malaysia crisis during the 80s, which basically they put under question mark the philosophy of IMF. So to say, we are today with IMF relations that we have finished the standby arrangement, 20 months standby arrangement. We were in the situation where we decided to raise our salaries. The IMF did not agree with that, and we choose to go again for interest of our citizens. And we, in the middle of the program, we decided to go out of the program and gain back into the program much more faster than IMF thought. So last year in December, we finished the program with IMF successfully, keeping fiscal stability, and we put some order in our fiscal discipline by introducing 2%, a fiscal rule, 2% of the budget deficit compared to the GDP, which is a very big limitation in terms of economic development. But this is another thing that we are looking into it, and now we are looking to expand our opportunities for the business by entering in relations with IFIs, with international financial institutions. Now we are part of the World Bank, IMF, EBRD, EIB, IDB, almost all financial institutions, and our debt level is around 10% of the GDP, which is a situation much, much better than in almost all countries. This was due to the not being able the first time and due to the fiscal discipline that we have involved. In order to make these structural reforms,